Hello, you amazing people out there, and welcome to the Amazing Action Comics podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I am one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
It's another beautiful week. I love starting these because we always have our side conversations before the show starts, and the fact that we both want this week to be over with already before it even begins just goes to say where we are on our week.
I was always going to venture to say I wish we were done with this year already.
Oh my gosh. But you know what, though? It's already the 13th.
I know.
We're like 2 weeks into the new year. It's just flying by. Thank God for comics.
Yeah.
Hopefully the industry's not going anywhere anytime soon, because if it's not for comics, there's no reason for us to live. I love every single one of them. All right, guys, welcome to another episode.
What would we do for a podcast if not for comics? We'd have to go ghost hunting or something.
Oh yeah, we could just talk about how miserable our lives are. That'd be good radio. Yeah, great radio. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Amazing Action Comics podcast. This is the indie comic review section of our podcast. We just have a couple of quick announcements before we get started into our reviews for this week. Comics are actually going to start picking up, which is great because there's some stuff coming down the road that we spoke about last week. Youngblood, I'm looking forward to. Silverhawks, possibly Herculoids, but that's still up in the air. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, we've got some conventions that we've got coming up that we're really looking forward to attending. I know that we spoke about it a little bit last week, but the Indie Comic Creator Con, I believe that started last year, was a really big success. And it's a Comic Con or convention that's dedicated solely to independent creators, small press, independent publishers, creative owned stuff. And it's being held at the Southern Connecticut State University on March 15th from 10 to 6. It's the one-day convention. So if you're in the neighborhood or interested in, learning more about independent comics or a really big fan about independent comics, I'd urge you to come and visit these guys. We'll have a table there for Amazing Action Comics. I'll be sitting at it. We're excited to be rebooting Project Shadowbreed with a whole, brand new issue number 1 that's going to kind of lead into the issues that we've done later on in the series. Really, really excited to be launching that there, along with sort of like a preview for Guardian City, which is my baby. John took a moment to read my stuff and said, hey, stop writing like a 3-year-old and get your grammar straight. So, yeah, we got the script set all for that. I've already started the art of that. I did the cover for Project Shadowbreed number 1, the reboot. Whew, I'm kind of liking it. Wait, let me see if I have the original here, actually. Let's see if I put that up. It's kind of like a little darkish.
Yeah.
He's got long hair now with his little fingernails. I should paint his fingernails red. That would be cool. But yeah, we're really excited about that. So it's cool. We also have lined up our first guest of the year. We're going to be doing that, I think, this Thursday, which means it'll be available to you guys on Friday. A guy by the name of Kevin Learn who wants to come on and talk about his upcoming book, Memoirs from the 20th Century. It's be coming out on Blood Moon Comics, which is another small publisher that we get at the store, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. We're taking a look at his book now, so that should be fun and interesting for this week. So I'm really looking forward to having more guests on this year and talking comics and talking shop stuff, because all this talk about comics dying is depressing. But they're not going anywhere. You know what? Honestly, I think out of all the print formats that we have, because newspapers are far and few in between, they still come out, but you don't see them as much. I think comics will probably be the last medium form that'll die of paper format. That'll be my fingers crossed.
I mean, look,
if it does.
If you look at it, comics were one of the first forms of communication because hieroglyphics, early language were just pictures.
Yeah.
So that is a fallback that I think will always happen. There will always sort of be that sort of type. Even if language goes away, how are you going to represent what you saw? You're going to draw a picture of it.
Yes, and we use it all the time. I mean, letters are not letters; letters are pictures. So we use drawings all the time. Our language is just developed from the pictures that we interpret. So yeah, it'll be around. I'm not worried. We've got some really great talent out there, and we've got more people that want to tell stories. So it'll be around for a long time.
Otherwise, if comics do die, then join Angel and I for our new podcast where we go ghost hunting of dead comics.
That'd be cool.
Dead comedians. We'll be ghosts of dead comedians.
Oh man! All right, cool. So yeah, so look out for that. March is going to creep up really soon. Really excited about that, and I think we have another convention coming up probably sometime in the summer. So we'll give you more details as that approaches. And then we'll talk about having more creators on board as well to talk about their projects. But for now, let's get into the realm of reviewing independent comics. There were two comics that John and I actually chose this week that were the same. So oftentimes we have different tastes, but I guess there were no anthropomorphic comics coming out this week. So we're going to dive into it.
One of them is almost, you can kind of...
that'd be kind of pushing it, but yes.
Creatures. Yeah.
Yes, they are creatures. All right, so we're going to dive into it. We're going to do the format a little bit different. We're going to kind of read the synopsis first and then give you our 2 cents from there. So we're going to start with this first one from Image Comics. And I was really looking forward to this because I enjoyed the previous series that these guys did before this. From Image Comics called Lucky Devils. This is Charles Soule and Ryan Brown back together again. You guys probably know them from 8 Billion Genies, which was, to me, just an absolute masterpiece because it was so different from anything that was coming out at that time. And it sort of like started at like 100 and stood there the entire time for that miniseries. So Lucky Devils, Charles Soule, Ryan Brown. Synopsis: Good Omens meets Curse Words. Already intrigued right there. In this new series from the duo behind hit smash 8 Billion Genies, The Lucky Devils is a tale of two rebellious demons who decide to start a revolution in hell, and the two ordinary 20-something humans they're going to manipulate to do it. A cheeky satirical look at good and evil. The Lucky Devils explores Faustian bargains and temptation in a rip-roaring, hilarious new way. Yeah. Your take on this book, John? Because honestly, I was excited. I really enjoyed 8 Billion Genies. Yes, and I was like, you know what? These guys are doing something else. I'm going to be really into this. So I'd be interested to hear your take on it.
So I knew you were going to pick this up because of how much you loved 8 Billion Genies. I passed on 8 Billion Genies, so kind of wanted to see what these guys could do together. Because I didn't think I've read Curse Words. I've read some stuff by Soule on his own. I don't know if I've really encountered Ryan Brown without Soule's writing before. I love his art style. I think it's really fun. It's cartoony. It's a little busy. It's a little crammed, and I kind of like that. It kind of makes you pore over the details. So that's great cover there. I enjoyed the concept, especially because you have your two protagonists, as far as the human aspect of it, are these two almost wholly good people. And they are given such shit served on the platter of existence, like at least in this one day that we see, and we get the sense that this happens to them all the time. And I like the narrative conceit of like, you see them at their breaking point, and you see them about to do something bad because they've had enough. And then when you come back to them, it's like, oh yeah, they chickened out. They couldn't quite do it. They're that good, right? And so you find out that these two devils, they each have a devil on their shoulder that are sort of putting them through these trials because it's their job. And for her, her devil focuses more on envy, and his more on like anger, right? And sort of like striking back, right? And I like that. I like that dichotomy. I like the characters of the devils, especially how a lot of the humans' issues happen with work situations. And then when we see the devils in hell, where they live, the the being the devils on their shoulders are jobs to them, right? And
Mhm.
so they look different at their job than they do when they're not at work. And I thought that was a real neat technique. So like case in point, their hair is fire. And you
Yes.
see him, the guy devil, and it's sort of like slicked back. And then he gets out of work and he takes the cover all off and he puts his hair up into a mohawk and he like buys beer to meet like the girl devil on the rooftop because they're like punk rock. They're like anti-establishment
Yes.
hell, you know? And the whole reasoning for why they want to do what they're doing, to put, you know, to basically do what they want to do to these two humans is outside of their job description because they are like anarchists in hell and they want to raise hell in hell.
And hell.
And I think that's a great concept. So I really liked it. I thought it was really like the hook for 8 Billion Genies. I thought it was really unique. I thought the art does complement the tone of the story. And, you know, I love the use of colors throughout. So like every time the guy is getting mad, the human guy is getting mad, he's just red orange when he hits that peak. Because the girl, her devil is making her trade in envy. She gets a green blue when she
Yes.
starts to hit her great breaking point. So I thought that was really cool as those color hints before you actually find out why. So I thought it was laid out really good. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm in for this ride. I think this is going to be a 9 issue because
Yes.
each one is like a circle of hell. You know, like in Dante's Inferno, the 9 circles of hell, combined with the 7 deadly sins. So I think it's kind of a neat hook there too. So yeah, I really dug this. I'm just looking at the cover now and I just look like how punk rock are they? The guy doesn't have an earring on his ear. He's got one on his tail, on the fork of his tail.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's really fun. So I dug this. I dug this. I dug the girl in like her demon fishnets as like this punk rock demon girl. They drink beer on the rooftop and talk about how much they hate hell and what they're doing to these humans. I'm into this. I'm into this ride. I think this is going to be fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Not having read 8 Billion Genies, you know, I think this makes me want to read that more because again, if the sense is that this is, you know, not as good as that last effort, you know,
Right.
I'd be prepared to be blown away. Yeah. But I really liked it. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Where 8 Billion Genies was a slow burn in regards to where they came from, why they came to be, because you didn't get to know that until the later issues. This was, you got the reveal of these devils at the very end of the first issue. There's a lot in here, and you can reread it and pick up new things. So to me, it was a mixture of that Good Omens kind of like curse words in there. And it's funny because they did Ryan Brown, right? Charles Soule did curse words, and you see in one of the panels where the cat knocks down the wizard. That's the wizard from Curse Words. So they brought some of that stuff in. So if you're familiar with their work, you would have been like, oh, that's a good Easter egg there. The thing that I found interesting is I found little aspects of, because I watched it recently, so it just came up into my head. It's a Wonderful Life, that old black and white film with
Chestnut.
Yes, where it just reminded me, like at the very end, where the bell rang, and he was telling his daughter that every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. And this is sort of kind of like that in reverse, though. So you have these guys that are attached to these human beings because they want to be able to do more than one of these 7 deadly sins. So they start at a lower level with one sin, and the more that they get their humans to cross over to do the things that they've done, then they're introduced to other sins that they can start to provide as well. Right. So there was some really interesting concepts in there. I found it really wordy for a Charles Soule's book, but I guess there was a lot of content in it. I think this, for me, and this is me personally, because I did enjoy it, I just felt like if this would have been a double-sized issue for the first one, we would have been able to get a little bit more meaty content in there as well, to kind of like see where I don't know. I probably have to read it again because there's so much in there. It's not bad. It was just like, I guess because the expectation that I have reading 8 Billion Genies. So I guess on your end, it's probably a good thing that you didn't, because that book literally was like, holy shit, from the very beginning, it was just out there. And this one's a little bit more, I guess, not set in reality until you get to the very end where these guys just pop out and say, hey, I've been making you do all this stuff, and kind of realize that these two humans are actually so good that these devils have been tempting them all their life and they've not been able to get them to jump. But now they're going to bargain with them and say, hey, okay, we're going to do this aspect. We're not going to make you evil, but we're going to make you powerful.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like I don't know, sort of like a cross or an oxymoron, because the more powerful you become, how does that happen without stepping over other people and stuff?
And I think that's sort of like, this is where I think it's going to backfire in the devil's faces, is that these two are not going to be able to maintain their holy goodness as the absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's going to be part of that. I don't know. One of the things I did like about this were the small reveals throughout. So,
right.
So again, like I said before, like you saw them at their breaking point, and then you get the reveal that they didn't quite cross that line, or you first meet these devils and then you get the reveal that that's not how they actually are, like
right.
in their social construct. So I thought that was, so again, I thought you brought up a couple things. One very much related to this, and I think the other book, rules that are established in stories are sometimes not the clearest.
Mm-hmm.
But all I ask is, if it's clear to the author, then that's fine. Because I don't want to have to sit reading something with a rule book and be like, that's inconsistent with what you said the rule was. So that's always a little dodgy, right? When he's explaining when they're explaining the rules of the sins, and you graduate to get more sins and all that, and I was like, boy Charles, I hope you have that all mapped out, because it doesn't really make sense to me, but it seems like it works within the world, right?
Yes.
So, the other thing, and this is a tangent, is you mentioned It's a Wonderful Life. Did you hear about Amazon had this edited version of It's a Wonderful Life during the holidays?
No.
So it's basically, it cuts out the entire point of the movie. All the scenes where Clarence sends him back to experience his life as if he was never there. It's gone. So they still have the original version, but there's an edited version where it's basically like, George is like, show me how the world is like if I wasn't there. And Clarence is like, okay, sure. And then it cuts to George, Bedford Falls, I love you. Oh, I'm so happy. Everything's like,
why'd they do that?
I don't know. For time, somebody out there thought it was a good idea. Oh, this movie's really long, so we should really cut it down. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to cut that movie down, cut down the 2 hours in the beginning where you're living every single day of George.
Yeah.
Like,
take all the stuff out with the brother and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do that, but cut out a lot of that stuff, because that's the movie. The what if scenario is the movie. I heard about this. I forgot about it. You reminded me about it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, but that's Lucky Devils, guys, from Image Comics. Check them out. Oh, check it out. I know they're gonna pull something off. Yeah, that's freaking cool. I know they're gonna pull it off, so that's why I'm gonna hang in there. It was just one of these things where I was like, I've gotten a flavor before, and this is such a different flavor from what they've done before. But yeah, check it out.
Do you think there'll be a crossover? 8 Billion Genies meet Lucky Devils?
No, there's no way.
Do it, guys. Come on, that's your challenge.
Yeah. Well, no, and then explaining how they're devils, but they're not Satan, because Satan is too busy to even know that they exist. Or Satan doesn't even know they exist.
He doesn't.
And then their boss is too busy.
He doesn't make house calls. Is that what he says? House calls,
yes. That's fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next one. So the next one that we have is Doze Not Afraid. This is Dark Horse Comics. And, we've been praising Dark Horse Comics because they've been pulling out some really great stuff. Where Monsters Lie Cul-de-sac, I'm still in it. Holy shit, that book is so good. If you haven't read it, read it. All right, so this one is, let's get the creative team out of the way. Written by Carl Starks, art by Patrick Pizzialunga, and colors by Marco Bracco, letters by Jim Campbell. All right, the synopsis goes: a new crimes series from three-time Eisner nominee Carl Starks for fans of true crime and murder fiction. This is great right here. 2 serial killers discover they are within reach of the state record for kills and enter into a terrible competition to see who gets there first, featuring the amazing and stylish noir arts from Patrick Piazzalunga and incredible covers from the legendary Glenn Fabry. That alone is just so fucked up, but great at the same time. Yeah, the cover is great.
Yeah.
This book, I was not expecting a lot out of this book, but it fucking wowed me because I was just like, first of all, the two serial killers could be more different if you tried. You got one who's outlandishly just over the top extroverted, just knows everybody, the most friendly person you could ever meet, loves his wife, family, whatever, and is fucking killing women just left and right. And then you have one guy who wears a mask the entire time, quiet, reserved, probably to himself the most introverted person you could probably meet, and just killing people in their homes, which is crazy. So we basically start off with this rendition of a story being broken down of these murders that are happening within these town limits. And we come to find out that it's this girl who's, doing a podcast on serial killers, and stating that there's two serial killers currently in their town. And at the end, she finishes it and she's like, I know how fucked up this is going to sound, but these guys are within the record of the serial killer that she was actually talking about. I think they're like 7 off or something like that. I think they had like almost 40 something kills. And I think the high number was 57 or whatever. And one of the freaking serial killers actually listens to the podcast. And one night, these guys actually end up in the same house where one guy is trying to kill brunettes because that's his thing, and the other guy just kills people in their house. And they have a conversation. And one's more outspoken than the other, the extrovert, obviously, and the other guy's listening. And they're like trying to figure out what the hell is going to happen in that scenario. But they end up agreeing to compete against one another to see who gets the most kills so that they can break the record for that town. The concept is so fucking out there and so wacky that it works. It really works. I don't know what you thought, but I'm really, really looking forward to the remaining issues of this book.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna actually preface this with a little bit of a public service announcement. I'm a little worried about Kyle Starks because Kyle Starks. You mentioned Where Monsters Lie, right?
Yes.
That's his other series that he's writing for Dark Horse, 2 miniseries now, about a gated community for serial killers. He also did a series for Image, I believe, called I Hate This Place, which did also include serial killers. And also did have, I think, a serial killer podcaster or something, or so this is all a world that he sort of lives in as far creatively. I don't think he's a serial killer. I'm not really worried about him. One of the things I do love is that when he dives into this world, there is a gross visceralness about it, but there's also a sense of humor, a very tongue-in-cheek. He's poking holes at a lot of these tropes. But when you start your comic off with a quote from Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, I get a little worried. I love that the centerpiece of this, your narrator, your protagonist, this girl apparently who, excuse me, is going to be facing off against these serial killers, presumably, is does a true crime podcast, because that is probably the most popular form of podcast. In fact, when comics go away, Angel and I will be starting a new podcast about true crimes, but basically who killed comic books. That will be our true crime podcast. But basically, so I like that he's focusing that on that world. I like the 2 different serial killers. I like your Ted Bundy, handsome, deliberate stranger, kills young brunettes. And then you got your Richard Ramirez, Night Stalker, guy who just breaks into houses with a freaky mask. No rhyme, no reason, just to cause this havoc. I also like, because sometimes in comics or stories, things are a little too connected. But I actually like the connection between the Ted Bundy serial killer and the podcaster. There is actually a very close connection between them that I thought was a really good reveal. And I'd like to see how that's going to play out, because again, this guy's smart, and I think he knows a lot more that even we see as the reader, and we see that he knows a lot, you know,
Yeah.
because he's studied up on the guy in the mask. He knows how to talk to this guy, like, so it's really cool. And then I like in the back matter, there's a note, you know, there's a write-up by Carl Starks that kind of describes what's going to happen in the series, and they're going to run across other serial killers, and then there's going to be conflict there. So, I mean, again, kudos to Kyle Starks for taking something that is absolutely terrifying and just making it a fun roller coaster for the reader, because this is a really cool first issue. It is disturbing but funny, and it really does grab you and pull you in. And then high praise to Patrick Piazzalunga for the art, because sometimes in these things there's a tendency to be like, I could draw the detail and the viscera and the guts and all the details of that. And this is so shadow heavy that it allows the reader, you know, to commit the crimes in their minds, right?
But even more still, like if we look at the art, like the facial expressions and everything on his characters, like that's fear, that's terror.
Yeah.
There was some really, 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 really like just the like you're right, you're bang on the book, because the simple line art, and I think the color palette that was chosen just gives it this really morbid feel, like this horror feel, which is, dude, really well done, man.
Yeah, I always like this thing too, you know, in these horror movies, and specifically in this. So there's two known serial killers running around, and you have this old couple, you know, who aren't the hell, like if they should know, if they encounter somebody, they're not going to get out, right? And they're at home, and all the lights are off except for the television in this entire house. So again, it helps the mood, right? But I'm sorry, like, even if there aren't any serial killers running around my neighborhood, when I'm home at night, I got all the lights on. Like, I'm not just sitting, you know, in the dark with like one light on, you know. I thought that was funny, you know, because
they always do it.
Yeah, a lot of that's a trope that happens, but again, it works really well. It's very effective in this. Yeah, I had a great first issue. I think it's a 4-issue, because that sort of seems to be where he's at with some of this stuff with Dark Horse.
Right.
But again, there is a promise in that back matter of if this does well, there will be more, just like Where Monsters Lie. So,
which is crazy, because that first series of Where Monsters Lie was good on its own.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We didn't need any more, but then they came out with part 2, the cul-de-sac. We're already on issue 2, and the stuff that he set up so ingeniously for a second one doesn't make you think like it's overkill and it's too much.
Right.
There's a whole meaty portion to that. So yeah, I mean, this is great.
Yeah, he's really becoming my favorite writers as far as pacing and different. Like this is different from Where Monsters Lie.
Yes.
Yet it has a similar sensibility. This is also different from I Hate This Place. And this, you know, and again, this shows a little bit more restraint, I think, than the other two.
Yes.
You know, I Hate This Place, every page was designed to make the characters go like, I hate this place or F this place, you know?
Right.
So he can really throw it all at the wall. He can also be really restrained and hold back when he needs to. So this guy, yeah, I think his pacing, I think his dialogue, I think his setups are really good. Kyle Starks, I stand behind you 100% as a writer. If I find out you really are a serial killer, I take back everything I've done.
Yes, absolutely. But definitely, guys, if you're, you know, a horror fiction fan, serial killer fan, definitely check this book out, because it's a really good read. I'm looking forward to good things for the rest of the issues here. Those Not Afraid from Dark Horse Comics. Holy moly. Yes, beautiful. Yeah, kiddies, that's all that we have for you this week. Those 2 books. So just make sure, like I said in the past, or said in the beginning of the podcast, yes, it is a past. Make sure to check out. Just go to IndieComicCreatorCon.com. Check out what that's all about. Look out for the end of this week, where we're going to have Kevin Learn on to talk about his book, and then we'll be good from there. So yeah, so that's it. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, bring 100 friends, 100 of your friends along for the ride. If you want to join us, you're a creator, want to come onto the show to speak about your project or yourself, amazingactioncomics.com/podcast. Fill out the form. We'd love to have you on. Stay up to date on everything that we've got going on at amazingactioncomics.com. And last but not least, Please support your local comic book shops because they need us these days so that we can do what we love to do. John, where do you get your books from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Yeah, folks, you can get all these brand new comics at The Joker's Child every week. On Wednesday, we got all the new comics that you can handle. We also have more than enough back issues that you can handle. And while we have a fully stocked sales floor of back issues, we got so much more in our warehouse. So come on in with your list of comics that you need to complete your collections, your grail items, things like that. And we will go dig in and find them and price them and get them in your grubby little hands. Because, man, we got a lot of back issues. And one of my favorite things is finding those back issues for people. So bring your list or come on down to The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Or go to your local comic shop wherever you are. See if they can get you your back issues. When they can't, you give us a call at The Joker's Child.
Nice. All right, kiddies. Until next time, please, please, please be amazing, stay amazing, and read something amazing.